When most people think about retirement planning, their mind immediately goes to the first 40 years of their career. They talk about compound interest, maximizing 401k contributions, and buying the right index funds. They focus entirely on accumulation. But there is a critical window that is almost always overlooked. The final decade of your full-time work is not just a continuation of the accumulation phase. It is a distinct period that requires a completely different strategy. If you treat the last 10 years the same as the first 10, you risk being unprepared for the moment you actually stop working. This is the era of decade de-risking, and it requires you to shift your focus from building wealth to managing the transition itself. Here is the thing that most financial advice misses. Your strategy for this final decade depends heavily on how much money you have already saved relative to your lifestyle needs. Research suggests there is a bifurcation in optimal strategies based on your wealth level. If you have accumulated a significant nest egg, your best move might be to maximize your labor supply. You should keep working as long as possible to delay tapping into your savings. This gives your portfolio more time to grow and reduces the pressure on you to withdraw funds during a market downturn. However, if your savings are low relative to your consumption habits, the strategy flips. You need to work defensively. You might need to cut costs, adjust your lifestyle, or extend your working years to ensure you do not deplete your resources too quickly. This is not about greed or laziness. It is about matching your labor supply to your financial reality. To understand why this matters, you need to understand the role of your income while you are still employed. While you are working, your ability to earn a paycheck is an asset. Financial planners call this human capital. It is a stabilizing force that allows you to take on more risk in your investment portfolio. Because you have a steady stream of income coming in, you do not need to withdraw money from your investments to pay your bills. This means you can afford to keep a higher percentage of your portfolio in stocks or growth assets, which historically offer better returns over the long term. You are essentially using your future labor to back your current investments. This is a unique advantage that disappears the moment you retire. Now consider what happens when you stop working. The moment you sign the resignation letter, your human capital asset vanishes. You no longer have the safety net of a paycheck to cushion a market drop. This is why the portfolio must abruptly de-risk upon retirement. If you have been aggressive in your investments during your working years, you need to shift toward more stable assets before you stop working. This is not about losing potential gains. It is about preserving the capital you have built so that you can live off it for 20 or 30 years. If you suffer a major loss right after you retire, you might have to sell assets at a loss to pay for groceries. This is known as sequence of returns risk, and it is the single biggest threat to retirement longevity. There is another layer to this preparation that is often ignored. It involves the decision to purchase an annuity. An annuity is an insurance product where you exchange a lump sum of money for a guaranteed stream of income for the rest of your life. It protects you against the risk of outliving your savings. However, timing is everything. Some people delay purchasing annuities because they are pessimistic about their own longevity, or they believe the market will perform better on their own. This is a rational calculation for some, but it leaves you exposed to market volatility without the guarantee. The decision hinges on your personal risk appetite and how you view the future. There is no universal rule, but you must make this decision before you stop working, not after. Beyond the numbers, there is a profound psychological shift that must happen during this final decade. Retirement is not just a financial event. It is an identity event. If you have been a professional for 30 years, stopping work can feel like losing a part of yourself. Many people experience the retirement blues immediately upon stopping work because they lack a structured routine. You need to define purposeful activities and social structures before you leave the workforce. This might mean planning a transition to self-employment, reducing your hours, or engaging in volunteer work that provides social connection. The financial plan ensures you can afford to stop working, but the psychological plan ensures you want to stop working. Think of this final decade as a bridge. The first side of the bridge is your accumulation years, where you build the foundation. The second side is your decumulation years, where you live off that foundation. The bridge itself is the last 10 years of work. You cannot just drive straight from the accumulation side to the decumulation side. You need to slow down, inspect the structure, and adjust your vehicle before you cross. This means optimizing your asset allocation so that it is stable enough to support you when the income stops. It means considering tax liabilities and how to transition from full-time employment to reduced hours or self-employment. It means preparing your mind for a new identity. The theoretical models often suggest that you should maximize labor supply if you have enough assets. This seems counterintuitive to the idea of retiring as soon as possible. But it makes sense when you look at the math. Every year you delay retirement is a year your portfolio has to grow without withdrawals. It is also a year less of withdrawals required from the pot you have already saved. But this is only for those with sufficient assets. For those with low wealth, working longer is a defensive necessity to maintain your standard of living. Both paths require a shift in mindset from accumulation to decumulation. You stop thinking about how much you can add to your savings and start thinking about how you can protect what you have. Successful retirement preparation in this final decade involves a holistic shift. It is not just about checking a box on a financial spreadsheet. It is about balancing your financial readiness with non-financial planning. You need to define risk appetites for liquidity and investment. You need to understand that the market is not a guaranteed income source once you retire. You need to decide if you will buy an annuity and when you will buy it. You need to build a life outside of work that gives you purpose. The goal is to create a seamless transition where the financial stress does not compound with the psychological stress of leaving your career. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.